What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you are excited to be another week closer to the 2021 Dallas Cowboys season. We're just ticking them off. We're getting closer, I promise, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it. We have entered the dog days of summer. Hopefully you're nice and cool wherever you are. It is rather caliente outside. But again, this week marks another week closer, and this is actually an important week for the Dallas Cowboys. This week, the Cowboys are hosting what Mike McCarthy has been calling rookie school, and we have seen a lot of questions about this. And to be frank with you, this is kind of a new thing, it seems, for Mike McCarthy in terms of his operations as a head coach. I've mentioned a number of times before, I think that it's often forgotten that this is kind of Mike McCarthy's first season back truly coaching an NFL team in 3 years. When you consider that 3 years ago in 2018, he began the season as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. He was obviously fired, didn't coach in 2019, and he very notably put together a plan that he was going to put into place and put into practice when he got a new job. He got it with the Cowboys last year, as we all know. And then the moment it became time to kind of start enacting the plan, obviously the pandemic hit and social distancing happened. And so it's difficult for him to do the things that he was planning to do in his time off. So rookie school seems to be an evolution of that. So with that being said, what is rookie school? Because it sounds kind of obvious, right? It sounds like, okay, well, you take the rookies, the new players, and you get them in the building, right? We know the Cowboys have been in the building. Obviously, they had rookie activities already. They had mini camp that wrapped up last week. And it should be mentioned that this rookie school is the last organized activity, so to speak, for the Cowboys until they get together for training camp. But we'll get to that in just a bit. There was some news about that on Tuesday. But rookie school does kind of seem to be, what it sounds like. It's a school for rookies. And there's a lot of things about being a rookie in the National Football League, a lot to learn, a lot to pick up on, and a lot to kind of figure out as you make your way as a professional football player. And in case I didn't know, let's go ahead and hear what Mike McCarthy had to say last week when he was asked about this rookie school process.
Pretty much most of the things I do are a reflection of my experience of coaching quarterbacks. When I look at rookie school, I think it's kind of a wrap-up of the old quarterback school that I was part of in the early 90s, where you had that extra time. And the point I'm making is that there's always, for a young player, there's always moments in meetings and even on the field where, they really don't want to ask the question that, because maybe the timing or, they're totally not sure. And I know I had an experience, and I can remember like it was yesterday. Matt Hasselbeck was a young quarterback in Green Bay, and I was there his second year, and we were going through the same type of setting. And he goes, can you tell me, like, what does two-jet protection mean? And that's like the most, that's the common drop-back protection in the West. He goes, I never. I'm in a room with Brett Favre and Doug Peterson. I never wanted to ask what does the two mean? What does the number three mean? What's the word jet mean? So, the point I'm making is, it gives you that opportunity, whether it's schematics, whether it's mental conditioning, the emotional IQ enhancement that was an emphasis in some of our early meetings. It gives us a chance to go back with the rookies and say, okay, let's just talk us through. And as I'm sitting here, I know there'll be some really good questions and dialogue next week with those rookies, because it'll give them a chance to, just kind of go back and ask questions that they may have wanted to ask, earlier, in this offseason program.
So it kind of is what it sounds like. And I think that's really interesting. And in case you didn't know, Mike McCarthy has a history of this quarterback school. It's something he did, obviously, for a long time with the Green Bay Packers. And obviously playing the quarterback position involves a number of different details that, while you've been playing quarterback your whole life, if you've gotten to the NFL to do it, there are a lot of things you have to learn. And there's a lot of jargon you have to learn. And I think that Mike McCarthy making the point that sometimes, we've all been there, right? Whatever, your life, your career, your school situation, whatever it is, we've all been there, right? Where we've all been afraid to ask a question. We've all been nervous. Nobody wants to kind of do it in front of a large crowd and ask what seems to be like a common sense thing to kind of figure out and to kind of learn. But those are still things that have to happen. And this rookie school seems like something that Mike McCarthy has sort of put together to offer an opportunity for those things to happen. And it's not to say that all these players, all these rookies have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Obviously, they've been doing things at a high level for a long time. but Mike McCarthy wants to operate in a particular way when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. And so he's devised a way and a method and an opportunity for all of the learning that he believes is important to happen. And that is pretty cool because the Cowboys have a lot of rookies. I mean, consider the Dallas Cowboys draft class. All right, from top to bottom, you've got Micah Parsons, who we'll talk about in a second as well, Kelvin Joseph, Osa Adigizua, Chauncey Golston, Nashawn Wright, Jabril Cox. You've got Josh Ball, Simi Fehoko. Our latest film review episode is on the Stanford wide receiver. Make sure you go check it out, get to know him and the newest weapon for Dak Prescott in this Cowboys offense. Very good stuff. Very fine job done by Matt Minich. You've also got Quentin Bohanna, who we've had a film review on as well. No big deal. Israel Mukwamu, our friend who we sat down with and talked to the day after he was drafted. Go make sure you watch that in our channel. Make sure you do subscribe to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, by the way. And Matt Farniok. And so that's just the draft class. And if we're being honest with ourselves, it's unlikely that all of these players make the Cowboys team, right? And maybe some of them are practice squad candidates. Maybe some of them don't make it at all. But you are going to have an infusion, seemingly, of youth. And Mike McCarthy has talked before about that. How it was kind of the plan, that it happened by design. In fact, those are the exact words he told Chris Collinsworth on his podcast a few weeks ago. And so, I mean, you want to have them up to date, right? Like, that's the reality. I think that's an easy thing to forget is we don't all know everything. When you start, I mentioned school, but you start a new job, even if you've been working in that field and that industry before, there are certain technical terms or certain, habits or habitual exercises that happen at certain jobs that just aren't the case with other teams or other places or other corporations. And so it makes sense to have this opportunity for all of the rookies in general. It makes sense to have it for quarterbacks like Mike McCarthy has done before. And let's not forget that, I know that the sort of national reputation of Mike McCarthy is down after this past season, but he has been regarded as a highly qualified quarterback, kind of guru, somebody who has developed a lot of promising quarterbacks. In fact, when Andy Dalton joined the Dallas Cowboys a year ago, he told Adam Schefter in his first sit-down interview that was part of why he chose the Cowboys, was Mike McCarthy's ability to develop quarterbacks. And obviously, look at Aaron Rodgers, and nobody's going to tell you that Mike McCarthy is responsible for, why Aaron Rodgers is so great. But there are a lot of other quarterbacks that he grew behind him. I mean, Mike McCarthy helped Matt Flynn get paid by the Seattle Seahawks. All right. I mean, so that's, that quarterback school was an evolution of that, a branch off of Mike McCarthy's ability to develop quarterbacks. And so if he can convert the whole overall idea of quarterback school into a rookie school that helps out rookies specifically, I think that's good for that entire group, this entire group. I mean, because we're looking at a group. I mean, I mentioned Simi Fehoko, but outside of that, these are all defensive players, and Matt Farniok, not to, bury the lead or anything here, but the most part, the high-level contributors that we expect to see from this draft class are going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And we all know, and we all certainly really know, that the defensive side of the ball needs a lot of help. And so you're going to likely have to see a lot of these players maybe not play, massive amounts of snaps, but they're going to have to play significant snaps. They're going to have to play in significant moments in time, significant periods of time. And so if you can get them to the place that they need to be faster, that helps the overall group. We know that if you're the Cowboys, you can only defend on your defense as it stands to a certain degree, right? Like, we all know and believe, yes, you know and believe, trust me, that DeMarcus Lawrence is an elite edge rusher. But that is only good for so much of the time if the rest of your defense is no bueno. I mean, we all have hope that Leighton Vander Esch can be okay. But, now that you've got Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox, you have other options. And if you're going to be relying on Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox, they have to be caught up to speed. Micah Parsons plays in the middle of that defense. He's going to have to be able to do a lot of different things. And so if you can get him there faster at a time, because the NFL is so strict about the number of practices and padded practices and things that you can have. In case you don't believe me, the San Francisco 49ers were docked an amount of time that they're able to practice because they violated those rules. And so if you can teach and institute these things in the classroom, like it seems that Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys are trying to do, you're taking advantage of what you can do in this downtime, in the lull period that is June and early July before training camp ultimately hits. I mentioned that we would talk about Micah Parsons, and there's no question that he is the rookie that the highest level expectation is surrounding. The Dallas Cowboys defense, as we've said several times, has not been good. In fact, it's been downright bad. It's been awful. And the reason the Cowboys drafted Micah Parsons is because they expect to turn this around. Dan Quinn obviously has a huge hand in that. And because they are clearly acknowledging that they have made some mistakes at the linebacker position in Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith and all the conversations that we've had. But that being said, wherever you are, you don't have to shout it. You can just say it to yourself. Is Micah Parsons the person with the most pressure when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys draft class? And I think that the answer is clearly yes, because when you think about the draft class as a whole, we could put it back up for you if you'd like here. Kelvin Joseph, I suppose, has a fair amount of pressure in certain situations. I mean, but I don't think Kelvin Joseph's going to see enough play time early on to justify any high level of pressure. Everybody else, while we expect big things from potentially over the course of their careers with the Cowboys, is really, they're all filling roles when it comes to 2021. The only one who is really going to be kind of standing out and standing, in his own light from the bunch is Micah Parsons. And so the pressure seemingly is on Micah Parsons to deliver early on in his rookie season with the Dallas Cowboys. And so that's where minicamps help. That's where OTAs help. That's where rookie school helps. And so, I mean, I think it's different than just a normal, highly drafted player, because anytime, to spend a top 10, top 12 in this case pick on a linebacker is something that a lot of people disapprove of. And we've had that conversation before because of the value associated with the linebacker position, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when you do draft a player that highly, any player, generally the expectation is that they can come in from day one and make your football team better. That's the reason you drafted him, right? Like, that's the reason the Cowboys drafted Micah Parsons, is so that when he's on the field, they are better than when he was not. And so that is fundamentally true no matter who you're talking about. Now, when we focus on this specific example of Micah Parsons, there's a lot of pressure on him in a lot of ways that don't even have anything to do with him. There's a lot of pressure in the natural sense that we just went over. And then there's a lot of pressure because this team has had some really awful play at linebacker over the last couple of years. And not only has the team had a lot of awful play at linebacker, but the team's resource allocation at linebacker has not looked wise. And so if you're Micah Parsons, now you are being asked to buck the trend. You're being asked to be not only great, but to justify the pick of yourself when this team, whiffed on a first-round pick in Leighton Vander Esch now 3 years ago, when this team whiffed on a second-round pick in Jalen Smith and a second contract that they handed over to him in 2016 and the contract 3 years later, 2 years ago in 2019. So if you're Micah Parsons, you have to get over a lot of hurdles just before you even truly step on the field. You have to be great because of where you were drafted. You have to be great because you were trying to exercise or trying to avenge, trying to amend the mistakes that the franchise has made at this exact same position. And on top of that, you're trying to take this defense that was flirting with being the worst, not only in the NFL last year, but among the very worst in NFL history before things partly stabilized down the stretch. So if you're Micah Parsons, you have to be inordinately great to kind of, fill out the expectation or the pressure that is associated with you in your drafting by the Dallas Cowboys. And ultimately, I'm not at all worried about that. I don't think you're worried about that because Micah Parsons, by all measurements, seems up for the challenge. Everything that we have heard out of minicamp and every sort of practice and pseudo practice has really been positive when it comes to Micah Parsons. We have heard that his athleticism is on display, being used as an edge rusher, whatever you want to call him, a designated pass rusher, whatever the case may be. He's getting after the quarterback, and that is what matters the most. Playing great as a linebacker, moving fast, moving in space, moving athletically, moving all over the field. That's what we want to see. We want to see this speed. We want to see this athleticism on display because that is something that we have not seen when it comes to, unfortunately, both Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith. So Micah Parsons, in my eyes, and I assume in yours, is really justifying all of the hype that is around him, which is a hard thing to do, as mentioned, because not only is there hype just naturally, but there's hype because this situation has been so dire at this position for a very long time when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. But hopefully rookie school is teaching him a lot. Hopefully he's taking lots of notes. Hopefully he's raising his hand. He's the first one to ask the questions. He's sitting in the front row. I mean, I think we're all excited to watch Micah Parsons play, so that is very cool. And, the soonest that we will have a chance to really see Micah Parsons play is about 5 weeks from now. The Dallas Cowboys announced on Tuesday that training camp is officially headed to Oxnard, California. Get pumped. This has been something that has been heavily speculated for a long time. We mentioned Mike McCarthy's press conferences last week. When he spoke, he said that he was operating as if training camp was in fact going to be heading out west to California, and that is now officially happening. It was a matter of really the Cowboys getting approval from the NFL. Obviously, in our current times, the Dallas Cowboys or any team that wants or wishes to have training camp away from their home headquarters had to get approval by the league. It took some time, but the Dallas Cowboys are officially packing up, heading out west. It starts July 20th, July 22nd, the first practice if you are looking to attend. I've been to Oxnard a number of times. I can tell you it's great. We get a lot of questions every year, people looking to go. Obviously, your average hotels, wherever you want to stay, but it's really fun, and you might want to go on a practice or a day where they're having two practices. great food out in Oxnard, great weather. Even though it is California, you can, there are still moments where it's sunny, where it's hot, where it's difficult. So don't think that it's just all glitz and glamour out on the left coast. It can be a little bit trying when it comes to the sun, but training camp officially headed to Oxnard, California, going to be a very, very, very fun time. I don't know what's going on out there, but I don't know if you heard that dog, but that whatever dog that is very excited about Cowboys training camp happening in Oxnard, California soon enough. That seems like a good note to end on. Hope you have yourself a great day. We're very excited. We're going to be breaking down where the rookies kind of stand at this point. It's been a while, obviously, since the draft, but they've had some time to kind of work their way in with the Cowboys team to this point. So we'll be getting into that later on this week on our channel. Make sure you subscribe right here to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. We have a couple of videos that come out every week. We're not stopping, even though it's the middle of the offseason. We are here all the time to serve you, the loyal Dallas Cowboys fan. We appreciate all of you who choose to make us part of your Cowboys fandom. And that's it. We hope you have a great day. In fact, I hope you have the best day ever. Have the best day of all time. You know why? Because you deserve it. We'll see you next time.